Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the two-game Saturday slate for Week 15. We do have two games on Saturday. We have a big two-game slate on Draftkings. They're running out big contests. We got a Millionaire Maker, 2.25 million in total prizes with the million to first. Also, Yahoo's running out a two-game slate as well for these Saturday games, so I did want to break this slate down. I do plan on playing, and also just because the sites are running out big tournaments, there's going to be a lot of action, so we'll break down this two-gamer position by position like we do for my main slate videos. We'll go quarterback through tight end. I'll talk about the guys that I'm really interested in for this two-game slate. You know, because it's two games, it's going to be pretty straightforward, but I'll try and maybe give some guys that will be a little bit lower owned, that won't be, you know, as popular as some other guys. But before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button down below, hit the subscribe button as well, click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You never miss out on any of my new videos. We'll have a lot of videos coming up soon with NBA returning next week. I'm going to have NBA videos daily. I'll still be pumping out NFL content as well. Going to have a lot of videos on the channel, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so that way you never miss out on any of my new videos. Click the notification bell as well. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at this two-game slate and start off at quarterback. So our four options at quarterback this week, or for this two-game slate, are Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, and Drew Lock. So you could clearly have two guys that are head and shoulders above the rest. You got Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers priced above 7K, and then you got Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock coming in at 5,200 and 5K. So quarterback's a position you're either going to be paying up or you're going to be paying down. There's really, you know, no in between. And if we just take a look at kind of the other positions, I mean, obviously on a slate like this, you can't just pay up for everyone. I mean, the pricing's kind of soft, but like if you want to pay up at quarterback for Aaron Rodgers or Josh Allen, if you want to get in, you know, Aaron Jones, Mike Davis, if you want to play Devonta Adams, Stephon Diggs, like you can't play all these guys. You're going to have to go cheap somewhere. I think quarterback for me is probably the position I look to pay down more times than often, just because quarterback's a position that normally guys don't break the slate at quarterback. Like even if a quarterback has, you know, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is definitely in the range of outcomes for, you know, Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen, I mean, that's still only, you know, that's still only 27 DraftKings points, assuming they don't really add much else, like on the ground or anything. Not saying that Bridgewater or Locke are going to score 27 DK points, but they could definitely come close, whereas, you know, if Devonta Adams goes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, you are most likely going to need him to, you know, win a tournament. If, you know, Aaron Jones has 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, you're most likely going to need him to win a tournament. I just think quarterback's a position that I'm more likely to save and spend down, so that way I can pay up at running back, so that way I can pay up at receiver, because I think that's where we really want to spend our salary on this slate. So, you know, between the two cheap quarterbacks, we'll talk about them in a second, but obviously Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen are both great plays. I mean, they're going to project way better than Bridgewater and Locke. It's just when we look at roster construction, you kind of have to save salary somewhere, and this is a position where I think I'm most likely going to be spending down. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, if you can fit him in, I mean, he's a great play. He's been so good this year, so consistent as well. I think he has like 19 DraftKings points in every game this season. Yeah, except one. That one game against Tampa Bay where they got blown out. Besides that game, Rodgers has at least 19 DK points in every game. I mean, he's been so good this year. Definitely has a path to like a 30-plus point game. Obviously, if Rodgers, you know, goes out there and throws for 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, gets a rushing touchdown, if he has like 30 DraftKings points, then yeah, you're probably going to need him to take down a tournament, but I'm more likely going to bank on, you know, Rodgers maybe not having a 30-point game. Maybe he only scores, let's say, 22, 24 DK points, and we could get a similar outing from some of these cheaper options. So for that reason, obviously Rodgers is a good play. I'm just more likely to pay down. Honestly, though, like if I'm going to pay up, I think I'd actually prefer Josh Allen over Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers has been awesome this year, but so has Josh Allen. Allen definitely has a big ceiling. Like he could easily outscore Aaron Rodgers, and he's coming in $600 cheaper. You know, the Denver defense, I'm not really worried about, especially when it comes to elite quarterbacks like Rodgers, like Allen. I don't really get worried about matchup too much, especially not on a two-game slate. I mean, it's not like we have many other options to go to. I would say Allen's floor is probably a little bit lower than Rodgers, but I mean, Allen can easily go out there and outscore Rodgers, can throw for 300-plus yards, multiple touchdowns. We know he has some rushing upside as well. When they get down to the goal line, Josh Allen is always a threat to punch it in near the goal line. I do like him a lot. I think I'd actually prefer him over Aaron Rodgers if I'm going to be spending up. But honestly, like I said, I think I want to go cheap here. This is a position where I think I can save salary and then spend up elsewhere. Teddy Bridgewater is the cheap quarterback that I do like. He's only 5,200. against Green Bay in a game where they're, big dogs. I think right now the Packers are favored by 8.5, so the Panthers are 8.5-point dogs here. They're most likely going to be playing from behind. They're most likely going to be forced to throw. This should be another game where we see Teddy Bridgewater throw the ball 35, 40 times, and when he does throw the ball a ton, like when he throws the ball 40 times, when they're playing catch-up, Bridgewater definitely has paths to put up a ceiling game. I mean, he's got 20-plus DK points in 3 of his last 4 games. Did have that 31-point game against the Chiefs. Obviously, he was able to get in the end zone on the rushing end, so that kind of helped. I mean, he does have 3 rushing touchdowns in his last 4 games. That's something that Bridgewater does bring to the table. He's not an elite rushing quarterback, but he at least has some rushing upside. We've seen, the last 4 games, he's got at least 12 rushing yards. He will scramble a little bit. He does have the potential to get a rushing touchdown. I do prefer him over Drew Lock if I'm paying down. And like I said, I think quarterback is a position I'll be looking to save so I can spend up elsewhere. So I like Teddy Bridgewater quite a bit at just $5,200 on DK. And on Yahoo, he's cheap over there as well, $26. If you can find the salary to get up to Rodgers or Allen, sure, you can do that. Yahoo's pricing is normally a bit softer than Draftkings. Normally, it's easier to pay up on Yahoo than on DK, but just for now, we'll plug in Bridgewater on Yahoo as well. I think overall, when you factor in salary, he's probably my favorite quarterback on the board. Drew Lock, I don't know if I can go to him at 5K. I mean, I know he's cheap. He gets a favorable spot at home against Buffalo, a team that, hasn't been great defensively this year. Kind of similar to the Panthers. The Broncos are also big underdogs here. They're most likely going to be playing from behind. Drew Lock's going to be forced to throw, but I would say Drew Lock's ceiling and floor is definitely a lot lower than Teddy Bridgewater, at least just in my opinion. Also, if we're talking about stacking options, I feel a lot better stacking Teddy Bridgewater's receivers than I do Drew Lock's receivers. Like, I'm just not confident in Jerry Jeudy or KJ Hamler or Tim Patrick. I mean, I know Patrick's been good lately, but I would definitely prefer to play the Carolina receivers over the Broncos receivers. So that just is automatically going to make me more interested in Teddy Bridgewater. So if I had to rank the 4 quarterbacks, when you factor in price, I mean, I'd probably go Bridgewater number 1. I know that might be a hot take, but I really like the savings you get. I mean, $2,000 cheaper than Allen, $2,600 less than Rodgers. He could definitely score close to those guys and, possibly make the winning lineup. So I like Bridgewater a lot. I think I slightly lean Allen over Rodgers, but both guys, if you can pay up, are obviously in play. Drew Lock, though, would definitely be, number 4 for me. I don't expect to be playing much Drew Lock on this slate, but that's really it for quarterback. Let's go ahead and move on to the running back position. So at running back, Christian McCaffrey is doubtful. He's not expected to play. Just a heads up, I am recording this video a little bit earlier than normal. I'm having to get a lot of my content done early because I'm traveling this week. So I'm recording this on Wednesday. As of Wednesday, when I'm recording this video, it doesn't seem like Christian McCaffrey is going to play this week. Things could change, but I would say it's highly unlikely he plays. So that leaves Aaron Jones as our most expensive running back. And just given the options at the position, I think Aaron Jones is clearly going to be someone that we want to pay up for. $7,300 on DK. I think he's $33 on Yahoo. Yeah, $34 on Yahoo. I mean, just looking at the position, you're either playing Aaron Jones, Mike Davis, potentially Melvin Gordon. You're probably not going to play Jamal Williams. I don't think you're going to want to play Zach Moss. I guess Devin Singletary is in play, but obviously I'm not really confident in any of those guys. I mean, if Melvin Gordon winds up sitting, he's listed as questionable. He did not practice on Tuesday, and he was limited in Wednesday's practice. It seems like he's going to play, but obviously if he were to sit, that would make Phillip Lindsay a lot more appealing. But the running back position is just really gross once you get past Jones and Davis. There's not a lot of guys under them that I'm too confident in, so Aaron Jones is clearly the guy you want to pay up for at running back. I mean, I know he's been inconsistent this year. I know he hasn't been someone that I've gotten right much this year. I played him heavy last week. I was very heavy on him in a great spot against the Lions, and he just didn't do anything. 15 carries for 69 yards, 2 catches for 6 yards. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers goes out there and, throws 4 touchdowns, Aaron Jones is probably not going to have a good game. But even if Aaron Jones has a floor game and puts up 10, 12 points, it's still possible that he makes the winning lineup just because really no other running backs have the floor or the upside that Aaron Jones does. What is the ceiling on Melvin Gordon? 20 points. What is the ceiling on Zach Moss or Singletary? I mean, both those Moss and Singletary have really shown no upside this year. I mean, it's just so hard to roster either one of those two guys right now. I mean, Melvin Gordon, I guess against Buffalo, a team that has somewhat struggled against the run this year, he can maybe get 60 yards and a touchdown and maybe a couple catches and somehow outscore Aaron Jones. But I would say that's very unlikely. Running back is definitely a position we want to I don't think we want to really get cute here. I think we just play Aaron Jones, we play Mike Davis, and kind of move on. Obviously with Christian McCaffrey not expected to play, that will make Mike Davis once again the starter. Last week with Christian McCaffrey out, he did run really good with the touchdowns. He did get 2 rushing touchdowns last week, 11 carries for 51 yards. He also had 5 catches for 42 yards. I mean, he's not getting the massive usage that he was getting earlier this year when Christian McCaffrey was out, but Mike Davis is still clearly the #1 running back for the Panthers right now. I mean, I expect if they're down near the goal line, Davis will be the guy punching it in. Even if the Panthers are playing from behind, like Mike Davis will still be on the field. He'll still be out there catching passes. We know he's going to be involved in the passing game. I mean, it is a really good matchup for him. I mean, this Packers defense has really, really struggled against the run this year. I'm pretty sure they've been like bottom 5 in terms of fantasy points allowed to running backs. Like, the Packers have definitely been a team you want to pick on with opposing RBs. It is a pretty favorable matchup for Davis. I do like both running backs in this game, and I don't mind playing both running backs in this game in the same lineup just due to the lack of options at the position. So Mike Davis, also a guy that I really like, $6,500 on DK, $20 on Yahoo. Assuming that Christian McCaffrey does not play, Davis will be the guy that I'll look to there. But, I guess if you force me to play someone not named Aaron Jones and not named Mike Davis, it would probably be Melvin Gordon, just because I think if there's anyone that can score, 100 yards and a touchdown, it's probably going to be Melvin Gordon if it's not one of the other 2 guys that we mentioned. I mean, I'm just not confident in Phillip Lindsay right now. I'm not confident in either Moss or Singletary. Jamal Williams, I don't really want to play. So, yeah, I guess if you force me to play any other running back, it would be Melvin Gordon. But really, I'm just going to be playing a lot of Jones and a lot of Davis at this position. And then, I'll kind of differentiate elsewhere. I think paying down at quarterback, that's going to be a way to differentiate. So, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to wide receiver and talk about the wide receiver position. So this is kind of another position I think you kind of want to eat the chalk here, I guess. Davante Adams, the most expensive option on both sides, but clearly a guy we are going to want to try and pay up for. I mean, Davante Adams has just been so good this year, so consistent. I mean, you look at his game log, he literally has like almost 20 Draftkings points in every game this season. The Detroit game, I'm pretty sure he got hurt in that game, and then the Tampa Bay game, they got blown out. I know Adams barely played like in the 4th quarter because they were losing so much. I mean, in games that are competitive, when he's fully healthy, Davante Adams just crushes every week. I mean, it's really just as simple as that. He's going to get massive volume, going to see anywhere from 10 to 12 targets. We know 100-plus yards with multiple touchdowns is definitely in his range of outcomes. And if he has one of those games like he did against Philly, where he has 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, I mean, you're going to have him to win. I think I'm just going to be eating the chalk here. I don't want to try and fade Davante Adams and just watch him go off and then know my lineups are going to be completely dust. So I'm going to be jamming in Davante Adams, $9,400 on DK, $38 on Yahoo. Like I said earlier, one of the reasons I like to pay down at quarterback is so I can get Davante Adams in there, so I can pay up for Aaron Jones and Mike Davis, who are guys that I definitely want to build around on this 2-game slate. But then you have Stephon Diggs, who I do like as well. On DraftKings, I guess he's closely enough priced to Davante Adams. I mean, I know there's a $1,500 discount, but I still would try and get up to Davante Adams if I can. Like, if I can only play one of Adams or Diggs, I mean, it's not even close for me. I'm going to play Davante Adams, but Stephon Diggs is also a very solid option. I mean, another guy that's just going to get great volume, 10 to 12 targets just about every week. The Denver defense, again, not one I'm too concerned about. I mean, Stephon Diggs, he's just been so good anyway this year. He's pretty much matchup proof at this point. Last week, in a tough matchup against the Steelers, he still was able to have one of his best games of the season, 10 catches, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Like, I guess if there is anyone that could outscore Davante Adams, it's going to be Stephon Diggs, but still, I feel better with Adams. I want to try and get him in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play both those 2 guys unless I really just go cheap with all the rest of my lineup, which, could be possible. Tight end is definitely a position you can punt on this slate. Defense is always a position you can just play the cheapest defense. I'd never mind that on a 2-game slate. So, if I can find a way to get Adams and Diggs together, I'll try and do so. I don't think I'm going to be able to do so on DraftKings, but on Yahoo, talked about it earlier, their pricing is just a lot softer. It's a lot easier to pay up for the studs on Yahoo, so only $25. Very reasonable price tag for Stephon Diggs. You can easily fit him in with Davante Adams, and he is definitely going to be a guy that I try and build around. Like Aaron Jones, Mike Davis, Davante Adams, Stephon Diggs. If I can start my lineup with those 4 guys, that's probably the way that I'm going to be trying to go on this 2-game slate. I'm not sure if I'm going to play just like one lineup or multiple lineups. Since I will be traveling, I might only just play one lineup on this 2-gamer, and I'm most likely going to have those 4 guys in my one lineup, at least on Yahoo. On DraftKings, we'll have to see. Comes down to roster construction. There is some value that we'll talk about that I do like. But yeah, once you get past Diggs, then you have the Carolina receivers. You got Robbie Anderson at 6,200. You got DJ Moore at 5,200. And then you got Curtis Samuel at 4,800. So we will need to keep an eye on the status of DJ Moore. He was removed from the COVID list, and it looks like he's practicing on Wednesday. So I am assuming that DJ Moore is going to be back for this game. You know, when you look at the 3 Carolina receivers, I think when you factor in price, DJ Moore is probably my favorite just because, you know, he's cheap. He's only $5,200. He's $1,000 less than Anderson. He's only $400 more than Curtis Samuel. DJ Moore is a guy that I've played a lot this year, and I've definitely been – he's one of those guys that has treated me really well. It seems like whenever I play him, he does really well. Whenever I, you know, kind of get off of him, that's when he has bad games. Like, I played him against Detroit. I'm pretty sure I played him against Tampa Bay that week. I know I played him when they faced the Saints, and he had a really big game. Like, I guess I've kind of run good on DJ Moore this year. I've played him on the weeks he's went off, and I've faded him on the weeks he's done bad. This will definitely be a slate where I have exposure to DJ Moore, especially when you factor in the savings you get from Robbie Anderson dropping down to Moore. You know, DJ Moore, he was going on a stretch where, you know, he was kind of underperforming, wasn't getting much volume, but before getting put on the COVID list, he had 3 straight games with at least 7 targets, 20 targets in the last 2 games that he had played. He's definitely got the upside to potentially be one of the highest scoring receivers on the slate, and he's only 5,200, so I do like DJ Moore quite a bit. I think out of all the Carolina receivers, he is my favorite at 5,200. Now on Yahoo, it's a little bit different there. I mean, you got Anderson at $19, you got Moore at $17, and then you got Curtis Samuel at $16. It's close between Anderson or Moore, you know, only $2 difference. I guess if I can find the $2, you could go to Robbie Anderson, but still, I do like DJ Moore a lot at $17. You know, him and Anderson, I think, are both really solid options. Both make for good wide receiver 3 plays. If you can find a way to fit them in with Adams and Diggs. I probably won't get much Curtis Samuel, but, you know, Curtis Samuel, with Christian McCaffrey out, like, they've been using him a lot in the running game. We've seen him even score some rushing touchdowns near the goal line. So that does boost his floor and his ceiling a little bit. You know, before he was put on the COVID list, he was playing really well also. I just feel a little bit better about DJ Moore. I think his target floor is probably a little bit higher. I think his ceiling is also a little bit higher. So I guess if I had to rank the Carolina receivers, factoring in price, I would probably go DJ Moore number 1, Anderson number 2, and then Curtis Samuel number 3. But then you have Cole Beasley for 4,700. So Beasley, someone that I'll probably be avoiding on the slate. It looks like John Brown is going to be back for this game. John Brown was designated to return from injury reserve. I think he's going to start practicing this week. We haven't gotten any word yet, but it does look like John Brown's going to be back for this game. And if John Brown plays, that's just going to take me off of Cole Beasley. Beasley's been obviously playing well with John Brown out, but when John Brown plays, the target share for Beasley is definitely a lot lower. It's not nearly as consistent as it has been. I mean, he's seen double-digit targets in 2 straight games, but I don't know if that's going to happen now that John Brown is expected back. So for 4,700, I don't see myself really going to Cole Beasley. Tim Patrick, I guess, is fine, but, you know, at 4,300, I don't know if he's a guy that I really want to try and, you know, build around. I guess if you play Drew Lock and you're looking to stack him with someone, Tim Patrick's the guy that I'm most confident in. But really, I'm not a big fan of any of these Broncos receivers. I mean, the Broncos offense as a whole, I'll probably just be avoiding aside tight end, which we'll talk about tight ends a position. You can look for some cheap value from Denver. But, yeah, I don't really like the Broncos receivers much. MVS or Allen Lazard, I think those 2 guys are just dart throws. You know, you're hoping for like a long touchdown or something from them. I mean, we've seen MVS break off some long touchdown catches, so if you want to target him in tournaments because of that, you could, but really I don't feel, in terms of target floor, the target floor on Lazard and the target floor on MVS is definitely low, so not really guys I like for, you know, cheap options. Jerry Jeudy, I mean, he's really cheap. He's only 3,900. This is still a guy that has upside. You know, he hasn't had really the best year overall this season. Did have that big game against Atlanta, but, you know, I'm someone that's kind of been wrong on Jerry Jeudy. I thought going into this year he had upside to be like one of the top rookie receivers. Obviously, he hasn't really played that well. Kind of on this Denver Broncos offense has been one of the reasons. I mean, this Broncos offense has just been so bad this year, so inefficient. You know, when Courtland Sutton went down, I thought Jeudy was clearly going to be the number 1 receiver for the Broncos, was going to see a ton of volume. That hasn't been the case, but this is still a guy that's, you know, a great route runner. You'll see clips on Twitter of him just absolutely breaking dudes' ankles. I mean, he's a great route runner, has a ton of speed, always has a threat to break a long touchdown. He's someone that I think is viable for tournaments at 3,900. You know, if you force me to play a Broncos receiver, I think it is going to be Jerry Jeudy, just because I think his upside's still there and the price tag is really low. So I don't mind him. But John Brown is someone I do want to talk about. So assuming that John Brown does play, like I said earlier, guys, I'm recording this video on Wednesday. We haven't gotten any word yet on Brown. He is expected to return from injury reserve on Tuesday, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to play come Saturday. But I guess we'll see. Assuming that Brown does play, though, and he is going to be active, I mean, $3,300 for John Brown, if he's active and full go, is just way too cheap of a price tag. I mean, we saw during the regular season, or not during the regular season, but earlier in the season when John Brown was healthy, I mean, this was a guy that was priced around $5K, $6K. There's just no reason that he should be $3,300, assuming that he is active. So if John Brown plays, he's one of my favorite values on the board. Only $3,300. He shouldn't be that cheap if he's active. So I do like him a lot as a punt option. I think he is one of the better values overall on the slate if you are looking for some cheap plays, which, if you want to pay up for receiver, if you want to pay up at running back, you're going to need to find some value somewhere, and I think that is where John Brown comes into play. But let's go ahead and hit on tight end just real quick before we do end the video. Tight end is pretty straightforward on these two-game slates, and it's kind of the same here. So clearly, Robert Tonyan is the #1 tight end on the board. If you can pay up for him, by all means, go ahead. I mean, he's kind of touchdown dependent, but he has scored a touchdown in 4 straight games. He has scored double-digit DK points in 4 straight games. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and absolutely break the slate. Like, he's not going to have 6 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, right now, that's just not in his range of outcomes. But, if Robert Tonyan has 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown, if he has 14 Draftkings points, he probably is going to be the highest-scoring tight end. So for that reason, just given how bad the position is, I think Robert Tonyan is clearly the #1 tight end. But this is a position I think we can save some salary. I don't think Robert Tonyan is a must by any means. If he has 12, 14 points, is it likely that he is the high-scoring tight end? Probably. Is he going to be a guy that you have to have, though, to win? Could we see Noah Fant score close to Robert Tonyan? Absolutely. Could we see one of these cheap guys like Dawson Knox maybe catch a touchdown and score close to Robert Tonyan? We could see that happen as well. So I'm fine punting this position. Assuming that Noah Fant plays, honestly, when you factor in price, I think he's probably my favorite tight end overall at $3,800. It looks like he's fine to play. We just did get word that he had an illness, but he's fine. So all kind of signs are pointing to Fant playing this week. He would be a full practice on Wednesday, so it looks like he's going to be good to go. Factoring in the matchup against Buffalo, a team that has really struggled against tight ends this year, and given the savings you get dropping down from Tonyan to Fant, I think Noah Fant's probably my favorite tight end on the board this week. Only $3,800 on DK, $16 on Yahoo. We need to save some salary somewhere. This is a position I think we can pay down at, and Fant's the guy that I do like a lot as a value play. Somehow he doesn't play. If something changes, then Nick Van Nett would become a good cheap option for $2,900, but it looks like Fant's going to play, so I do have interest in Noah Fant as a cheap tight end. Dawson Knox, he's kind of a touchdown or bust. I mean, he's going to have to score a TD to even put up a solid game. If you want to take a shot at him at $2,800 just so you can kind of pay up everywhere else, you could do that. But really, my tight end player pool is most likely going to be just Robert Tonyan, Noah Fant, and Fant between the two I think is my favorite just when you factor in the savings you get. So yeah, guys, I think that's really it for tight end. Pretty straightforward position. Pretty straightforward 2-game slate overall. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of plays you see highly owned, like Aaron Jones, Mike Davis, Devonta Adams. Those guys are going to be really highly owned, but you can differentiate elsewhere. Like, I think paying down at quarterback is going to be a way to differentiate. I don't know if these Carolina receivers are going to be too popular, so, playing those guys, stacking them up with Teddy Bridgewater makes some sense in tournaments. There's still ways you can differentiate on these 2-game slates and not have your lineup duplicated by somebody else. So I do like this slate. I usually always prefer 2-game slates over showdown. In my opinion, I like the 2-game slate format, or I like the the classic format better than showdown. I think this is more. I think showdown's more casual friendly. You see a lot of casual players enjoy showdown because it's just easier to build lineups. But when it's the classic mode, when you have to roster a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, flex defense, like just more decision making for players that put the time in, that look at the slate, build out their lineups. I just think you have more of an edge on these classic slates, even though on 2-gamers, you'll see a lot of ownership flock to guys. You're going to see a lot of massive chalk. There's still ways you can differentiate. So yeah, guys, I think we broke everything down for 2 games, for Saturday's 2-game slates. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. I do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy my videos, if they help you out a lot and you want to check out more content from me, you want to see more that I have to offer, you can look at my Patreon link down below in the description. I do have a lot of additional content on Patreon. With NBA returning soon, I will be putting up NBA content on Patreon. I have my article that I post Monday through Friday over there. I'll have core plays, updated core plays for NBA posted on Patreon as well. So if you want to check that out, it's linked down below in the description. Always, the Patreon's linked down below there if you are interested. But best of luck on this Saturday slate, guys. I hope you win some money. Be sure to check out my video for the main slate. That'll most likely be going up Friday morning. I'll be posting that, or probably recording it on Wednesday night or Thursday and then posting it Friday morning. So check that video out as well. Good luck on the slate. Hope you make some money, and we'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.